I came home from deployment expecting my husband to be the first person I saw. Instead, the first thing waiting for me was a note. Come inside. We need to talk. It wasn't signed. For 9 months, that front door had lived in my imagination. Every exhausting day overseas, I pictured walking through it, dropping my duffel bag and hearing my husband, Ethan, say, "Welcome home." That moment never came. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 37 years old, and I've spent the last 9 months serving with the United States Army. Military service teaches you to notice small things before they become big problems. The moment I stepped inside, my instincts started firing. The air smelled like fresh paint. A table near the entryway had been moved a few inches to the left. The family photos that used to line the hallway were gone, leaving lighter rectangles on the wall where they had once hung. Someone had changed my home. I called Ethan's name. Silence. My heartbeat grew louder with every step. Then I noticed something else. A stack of unopened mail addressed to me sat on the kitchen counter. Every envelope was more than 3 months old. None of them had been opened. I reached for the pile when I heard footsteps behind me. My mother-in-law, Linda, walked into the kitchen wearing a pleasant smile. "There you are," she said warmly, giving me a brief hug. "Welcome home." Before I could ask where Ethan was, she handed me a neatly labeled white binder. "I've organized a few things while you were away," she said. "This will answer most of your questions." Across the front, 4 words were printed in bold black letters. House rules for Sarah. I stared at the cover, convinced it had to be a joke. It wasn't. Linda gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry," she said. "I packed your personal things somewhere safe. Once you've settled in, I'll show you where everything belongs." My throat went dry. "My things?" Before she could answer, the front door opened. Ethan walked in carrying grocery bags. He stopped the instant he saw me. One bag slipped from his hand, sending apples rolling across the floor. For several long seconds, neither of us moved. I'd spent 9 months dreaming about this reunion. Now he couldn't even look me in the eye. At that moment, I thought the binder in my hands was the biggest problem in my house. I had no idea what I was about to discover. Ethan stood frozen in the doorway. For a second, I thought he was going to walk over and hug me. Instead, he quietly set the grocery bags on the floor. "Rachel," he said softly, "please, just let me explain." Linda stepped between us before he could say another word. "She just got home," she said. "This conversation can wait." "No," I replied. "It's waited long enough." I opened the binder. The first few pages were ordinary enough to seem almost reasonable. A cleaning schedule, a grocery budget, quiet hours after 10. Then I turned another page. My stomach tightened. Master bedroom, assigned to Linda until further notice. Guests require Linda's approval. Household expenses to be managed by Linda. I looked up slowly. "Who exactly decided this?" Linda didn't hesitate. "We all agreed it would make life easier while you were away." "We?" I asked. She glanced at Ethan. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. "I never agreed to any of this," I said. The room fell silent. I closed the binder and walked toward the hallway. Almost everything that reminded me of my life before deployment had disappeared. The bookshelf held different decorations. My favorite reading chair was gone. Even the framed photo from Ethan and my first anniversary had vanished. "Where are our pictures?" I asked. Linda answered before Ethan could. "I packed them away. The house needed a fresh start. A fresh start. As if my life here had been something to erase." I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. 9 months overseas had taught me that reacting without thinking only made bad situations worse. So instead of arguing, I started paying attention. On the entry table sat a stack of unopened mail with my name on it. One envelope had an official county seal. Someone had already opened it. I reached for it. Linda noticed immediately. "That one's already been handled," she said quickly. I looked at her. "Handled by who?" She didn't answer. Before the silence could grow any heavier, the doorbell rang. Linda hurried to answer it. As soon as she disappeared into the foyer, Ethan stepped closer. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Rachel, don't read that envelope in front of her." I stared at him. "Why?" His face turned pale. "Because if she's lying about one thing..." He glanced toward the front door where his mother was talking to someone outside. "I'm afraid of what else she's been hiding." At that moment, I realized this wasn't just a family argument anymore. Someone had been making decisions about my home while I was thousands of miles away. and I had only scratched the surface. I didn't open the county envelope. Not yet. If the Army had taught me anything, it was this: never rush into a situation without understanding the whole picture. I slipped the envelope back onto the table just as Linda walked into the room carrying 3 plates. She smiled as if nothing had happened. "Dinner's ready." No one spoke while we ate. The silence felt heavier than any argument. Halfway through the meal, I looked at Ethan. "When were you planning to tell me the locks had been changed?" His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Linda answered before he could. "The old lock was sticking. I had a locksmith replace it. I wasn't asking you." For the first time that evening, Linda's smile disappeared. Ethan finally looked at me. "I should have called you," he admitted quietly. I didn't think it mattered." It mattered to me. Another long silence followed. After dinner, Linda carried the dishes into the kitchen. The moment the faucet started running, I quietly walked back to the hallway. Something had been bothering me since I'd arrived. The hallway walls had fresh paint, but one section near the stairs looked different. The color matched, but the texture didn't. I ran my fingers across it. Hollow. Someone had recently repaired the drywall. I crouched down and noticed fine white dust tucked beneath the baseboard. Something the cleaning crew had missed. This wasn't old damage. It was recent. Behind me, Ethan's voice startled me. "What are you doing?" I stood up slowly, looking for answers. His eyes followed mine to the patched wall. For a split second, panic flashed across his face. "You should leave that alone." "Why?" He hesitated. I promised Mom I wouldn't say anything." I took one step closer. "So there is something." Before he could answer, Linda called from the kitchen. "Ethan!" He looked between me and the hallway, then walked away without another word. That was all the confirmation I needed. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I returned to the hallway with a flashlight. The patched section wasn't hiding a safe. It wasn't hiding money. But tucked inside a narrow opening behind the repaired drywall was a small, sealed envelope. Across the front, written in neat black ink, were 4 words. "For Rachel. Open alone." My pulse quickened. Someone had hidden it inside my own house. Long before I came home? I didn't confront Linda immediately. I had spent 9 months away from home learning one important lesson. Emotion makes you react. Evidence makes you win. The next morning, I went to the county records office. After verifying my identity, the clerk placed a file in front of me. Inside were copies of every request made about my property. One name appeared repeatedly: Linda. But that wasn't all. Attached to the records were emails between Linda and a contractor. She had requested changes to the house while pretending she was helping maintain the property. Then I found the final piece: a payment receipt. Linda had personally paid the locksmith who changed my locks while I was deployed. My hands tightened around the papers. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a plan. That evening, I placed everything on the dining table. The documents, the emails, the payment records, the locksmith invoice. Ethan walked in and stopped. He looked at the papers, then looked at me. "I knew she was controlling things," he said quietly. "I knew she was making decisions without asking you." "How much did you know?" He looked down. "I knew about the rules. I knew she moved your things. I told myself it was temporary because I didn't want to fight with her." The honesty hurt more than another lie. "You weren't protecting our marriage." "Ethan, you were protecting yourself from an uncomfortable conversation." He nodded. "I know." For once, he didn't make excuses. The next day, Linda sat across from us at the table. She looked confident, almost amused. "So this is an intervention?" I pushed the documents toward her. "No, it's a question." She looked through them. Then she smiled. "You really think I'm the villain here?" "Explain the locks." Silence. "Explain the property requests." More silence. Finally, Linda leaned back. "I was trying to protect this family." Ethan frowned. "By removing Rachel from her own home?" Linda's expression hardened. "Your wife was always leaving. The army, deployments, missions. Thought someone needed to keep this family stable." I stared at her. "You didn't protect this family. You controlled it." She looked at me. "You think wearing a uniform makes you stronger than everyone else?" I calmly answered, "No, the uniform taught me something you never learned." She waited. The difference between loyalty and control. For the first time, Linda had nothing to say. Over the next few weeks, she moved out. Not because she was defeated, because everyone finally saw the truth. Ethan and I didn't repair everything overnight. Trust had been damaged, but he showed up every day trying to rebuild what he had broken. The house slowly became ours again. My photographs returned to the walls. My medals returned to their place. And the silence inside my home finally felt peaceful instead of empty. I thought surviving deployment was the hardest challenge I would ever face. I was wrong. Sometimes the hardest battles happen with the people who are supposed to stand beside you. And sometimes coming home means fighting for your place all over again. Would you forgive someone who betrayed your trust for 9 months? Or would you walk away forever? If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Revenge Diaries for more powerful stories of betrayal, justice, and unforgettable comebacks.